How's it going, guys? I'm Robert from Machado Visuals, and I wanted to do a little Q&A, so I collected a bunch of questions over Instagram, and I figured I'd share them here. Starting off, what was my favorite gear purchase from 2022? For 2022, it would probably have to be the FX3. Those cameras have my second highest rental volume, and they're total monsters when you pair them with Sony lenses. They cut seamlessly against my FX6 and FX9, and they have excellent slow motion. And like I mentioned in my last video, they just fit into places where others can't. How did the international travel come about? So all the travel work I've been doing for the past few months was for a cruise line I was actually shooting for. A few of those ships have been renovated, so the only way to capture that is to actually go on the cruise. They're super fun gigs because of the people, and you get a little glimpse of the outside world while you're actually working, so that's super fun. Fun fact, about 99% of our crew all went to the same film school. What did success look like for me? So I found success in a few different ways last year. Not only did I do really well financially, but I also worked on a lot of projects that I was just genuinely excited about. It's important to remember as a creative, it's not always about chasing a paycheck, and sometimes I'll just take on projects simply if they feed the soul. There were plenty of projects that I was super excited about last year that didn't necessarily have any financial gain, but they were just super fun to do. Luckily, most of the collaborators I've worked with trust me enough with the visual style, and honestly, if I don't have a director or producer hovering over my shoulder saying the frame looks a little dark, it's a win in my books.
It's a little dark. Is there any way we can up the brightness at all?
Biggest thing I learned, one of my biggest takeaways for 2022 was actually the power of saying no. I've become increasingly selective in the work that I take over the past several years, and that was ultimately realized last year as I've said no to more work than I've ever had while also having my best year financially. If there's a potential job that comes across my desk and producers are asking me to do audio, or if I'm starting to feel like there just won't be enough support from a crew perspective, or if it's just a project that I'm simply not interested in, I have no reservations about turning it down. Ultimately, I'm trying to focus on commercial and doc work, so one of my big goals for the year is cutting out all the extra noise and stuff I'm not interested in. It's always scary turning down work because you really have no job security as a freelancer, but it's a really important step in your career so that you can start working on the projects that you want to be on and start feeding the soul. Far too often do I see colleagues taking on anything and everything, but they always just end up getting burnt out both physically and mentally. And if there's anything I've learned throughout my career, it's that your time off is as equally important as your time on. Total cost of all my equipment, it's a lot. Most used piece of kit. On paper, my most used piece of kit by far was the FX9, and it had a total of 76 rentals for 2022, and most of that was when the camera was out with me. It's an absolute workhorse and is the perfect tool for most of the projects I do, specifically with doc or interview work. Otherwise, it's probably my meters, and I probably use those on almost every shoot. Any regrets? If I did have any regrets, it'd be that I didn't focus more time towards YouTube, but at the same time, my goals with YouTube are pretty open. I never started YouTube to get a bunch of subscribers or even as a source of income. I just started creating content because I thought it was fun, and even today is still a hobby for me to stay active whenever I'm not working. YouTube is a place where I get to be my own client because at the end of the day, the videos I'm creating are really for me. Best piece of equipment to release. So this one might be a little odd, but I think one of the best things to release this year was the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra chip. It's essentially like what Arri did with the Mini LF by fusing two of their sensors together, but with the M1 Max chips. It has everything, 20 CPU cores, a neural engine, ProRes hardware acceleration, and it's fundamentally changed the way I work with video codecs. In the past, I never touched H.265 or HEVC codecs because they were so processor intensive, but with all the hardware acceleration, there's practically no difference with editing or exporting when compared to interframe codecs. Specifically, when I'm using the FX3, I'll often opt for the XAVC HS so that I can use it with standard SD cards and get longer runtimes. I used to render all my videos in H.264, but now I exclusively use H.265 for all my exports, which also helps on the back end with lower storage requirements and half the upload times. It absolutely smokes my older Mac Pro with just about everything, and the fact that I can just fit it on my desk is insane. and most developers have been pretty diligent with updating their software to support the new M1 architecture. Is that a red? Yes. Favorite gig? I'd probably have to go with the cooking show I did back in October. Once we got everything set, it was super turnkey, so I would just show up each morning and the entire crew would just have everything dialed. Not only was I stoked on everything we captured for the actual show, but I think the BTS video I did was probably one of my favorite videos I've ever done for the channel. What am I most excited about? What I'm most excited for is actually not related to filmmaking at all. I'm really most excited to start honing in on some of my fitness goals. I made huge strides in 2021 and lost nearly 30 pounds and did a decent job with maintaining that throughout 2022. I've already signed up for a few Spartan races, so I'm excited to see what kind of progress I can make this year. I know this isn't a fitness channel, but I found numerous benefits to maintaining an active lifestyle other than just losing weight. I'll revisit this in a future video, but take care of your body and it'll take care of you. Hopefully this video is helpful in some way. Thanks for sending in all your questions, and I'm looking forward to focusing a bit more on YouTube now that I finally have some time off. If you appreciate my content here on YouTube, consider checking out my Patreon, where I post on-set behind-the-scenes content, as well as other in-depth breakdowns. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.